Hi everyone, my name is Terri and welcome to my channel, The Pink Dumbbell Problem, and a new episode in the Discourse series. The In the Discourse series is all about what we're talking about. So what's happening in the news? What are we tweeting about these days? So let's get into that right now. For the last several years, Tweeter, person who tweets, Feminist Next Door, known with the handle @mraz, I'll put a link down below of course, has sent out a tweet that I'm going to read to you in just a moment, and it always gets some really interesting replies. So here's the actual text of the tweet. Women, imagine that for 24 hours there were no men in the world. No men are being harmed in the creation of this hypothetical. They will all return. They are safe and happy wherever they are during this hypothetical time period. What would change? What would you do that day? This always brings up a huge number of replies, thousands and thousands of replies, some of them not getting the point of it, that this is a hypothetical thing, this is a thought experiment, and getting all upset that, feminists are trying to cancel men. Ignore that. What I want to get to is one particular type of tweet that came up quite a lot this year, and as I looked back in some of the previous years, has come up every year. Now, I'm not going to show you any actual examples because there was literally thousands of them, and I'll just put a link down below and you can scroll through that and have a look yourself. The replies to this tweet that I'm particularly interested in are the people who said, I would go jogging or I would go walking, and particularly they said they would do that after dark. And because my work is in fitness and feminism and philosophy, of course, that's really important to me. One of the things I get asked about quite a lot is, how can you do fitness work and do that in a feminist way? Like, aren't they mutually exclusive? And this is a great example of how fitness is in fact a feminist issue. And a lot of people ask me this because they think fitness is the same thing as the weight loss or the fat loss industry, and it's always about shaming. And there's absolutely a lot of problematic people in the fitness industry doing that work. But there's a lot of us who are trying to undo that work and be a better fitness industry away from all of that shaming and sexist stuff. And that's why the responses about walking and jogging on this tweet are particularly valuable. Women are saying, if there were no men in the world, if we weren't in danger that men create, we would go out and we would exercise more. So not being able to access free exercise opportunities that anybody who can walk can do, that's a huge issue. And I know ultimately the real fix would be to teach men to not be violent to women, but we are quite a long ways away from that. As the fitness industry, and also for myself and other colleagues who do academic research on it, we can't ignore that the sociological factors like violence against women is a factor in how fitness is accessed by people. And it's not just women, of course. People who are marginalized in any way have all kinds of access issues around safety. In case anybody's new here, by the way, trans women are women. So yes, trans women are included in that statement. Just as a little aside, one of the things that really annoys me is several years ago, our provincial government here in Nova Scotia published a document that basically said, we don't need to have a fancy exercise strategy. You don't need a fancy personal trainer. Just go for a walk. So yeah, fitness, definitely a feminist issue, and the sheer volume of responses about walking and jogging without being harassed and without being assaulted on the Feminist Next Door tweet absolutely drives that point home. By the way, if you're on Twitter and you're into feminist content, go check out Feminist Next Door. Loads of great stuff on there. Absolutely worth your time. Now the second one, this might get me in trouble. We have to have a little chat about the Pope. Regular viewers of my channel may remember a few weeks ago I did another video in the Discourse series, and it was about being child-free because that had come up in the discourse. This isn't exactly about being child-free, but it does overlap a little bit. So several days ago, Pope Francis got on his soapbox and decided to tell the world that people who do not have children are selfish. To his credit, at least this time he didn't single out women and blame only us, which is usually what happens. That's not giving him kudos, by the way. That's just me acknowledging that he actually was a little more inclusive in this one than he and his predecessors have been in the past. Pope also did say that people were replacing having children with adopting pets. So let me tell you something. If people want to have kids, they'll have kids. If people want to have pets, they'll have pets. Pets are not a replacement for kids, for people who don't want kids. Because why would we replace something we don't want? But I think that's also very presumptuous and rather infantilizing to think that people are thinking that their pets are their kids. I know we all refer to our pets as our fur babies, right? But come on, that's just a thing. That's just a joke. We don't mean they're literal replacement for human babies. Come on. That's like saying that you went to your doctor to get a kidney stone removed, but you felt bad about not having a kidney stone, so you adopted a pet rock. Like, you couldn't have a more wrong take if you tried, right? Come on. People have been doing an absolutely fantastic top shelf job of trolling the Pope on Twitter. Not only have we been using this meme, and that's Brittany Murphy from the movie Clueless. Take a moment to enjoy that in your life. But also people are putting up all their pet pictures, and I'm absolutely here for it. So all the fur babies, all the fins and feathers and scales, all creatures great and small. I love it. So thanks to everybody who's been posting that on all the different threads, on all the different news sites, because that has really cleansed my Twitter timeline and made for quite a lovely week. And of course, people are calling out the hypocrisy of somebody who's taken a vow of chastity and of never marrying, talking about what married people should do with their reproductive lives. The thing that interests me most about this is not that the Pope is trying to convince people to have more kids, because, I mean, Catholic, hello, that's kind of what they're famous for. Monty Python fans, I know what you're thinking. I'm thinking it too. I don't think I can play a clip of the song because of copyright issues, but I'm with you. And if you're not a Monty Python fan, I'll put a link down below. You can watch it later. But don't watch it at work. It's definitely not work-safe content. The Catholic Church claims to have over 1 billion members. It doesn't. It doesn't allow people to quit. So they don't have 1 billion active members, but they have 1 billion on paper. And this is really all down to getting more. So really no surprise considering where this is coming from. But I do want to highlight that selfish is the word that is brought up so frequently from people who are upset when people decide not to have children. Frankly, it's none of your business. So why are you so upset? But selfish is quite often the insult. Don't get me wrong, there's tons of insults, but it's usually the insult that people are most likely to hurl at people like us. So where does that come from? As somebody who looks at behaviors around gender, and of course, regulars on the channel, I love agnotology. I want to know why that is so common. Why is it everybody wants to say selfish? It's particularly interesting that the Pope brought this up a few days ago, because I really think that the religious foundation is a big part of why people look at this as selfishness. And as much as people are making fun of the Pope for being a virgin who can't drive, that's not really what it's about. But their way of looking at this is that people who are religious professionals, the clerical people who take that vow of chastity and agree to never marry, are doing so in service to the church. They are making a very personal sacrifice of their earthly needs and their earthly obligations, like having kids, in order to serve the church with fewer distractions and to basically be married to the church. So if you're not making that sacrifice to serve the church, you're doing it to serve yourself. You're doing it to serve some other purpose, whatever worldly need that is. Could it be, I don't know. I'm getting a lot of pop culture references out of this one, aren't I? So that's where that selfishness is coming from. I can't say that's necessarily the case for everybody who makes that accusation, but I think that's what's behind this particular version of it. The other thing, and this is not so much about the child-free aspect of it, but more about the Canadian aspect of it, is that a lot of people here in Canada, very rightly, and I 100% agree with this, have been calling out the church for hypocrisy on this one as well. For those of you who are not from this country, we have been having a lot of very upsetting things uncovered in recent years, really going back decades, but this past year in particular, about the absolute horrors committed by officials of the Catholic Church in the residential school system here in Canada. There have been branches of or dioceses of the Catholic Church that have apologized here in Canada, but not from the Pope himself, not from the church on high. And they've done that in other countries. Ireland and I think Bolivia have both had papal apologies for abuse to children. They have been mandated to pay reparations and have refused. The Pope refuses to apologize directly. I know there was some stuff a few months ago about, he's probably going to arrange a visit and maybe something will come of that. But so far, he's refused on several occasions to actually apologize. I'll put some links down below to Global News and CBC News video pieces that can kind of give you the background on that. The fact that we are not getting a papal apology in this country is a real slap in the face. So on the one hand, he's refusing to apologize and pay reparations for the abuse and deaths of thousands of children. And then on the other hand, saying, we got to go create more children? No. And quite a lot of Canada is simply not having it. And finally, to end on a much more cheerful story, all the way back in June, I did an episode of my Vlogs and Such series that was reviewing fitness trends from the 1980s. In that episode, I mentioned there had been a trend of creating fitness products specifically for kids. Fitness was such a huge booming thing at the time that there had to be a kid version of it. And I did say that, it's pretty rare you see anything like that in the years since. Well, we just had Christmas, which is the biggest toy selling season of the whole year. And of course, a big toy company is making me eat those words. And not just any toy company, it's Mattel. So this was really big. So over the holidays, I was out Christmas shopping. No kids to shop for in my family, so I wasn't really in the toy section. But you know how sometimes they put things in the aisles on your way to other sections? That's where I saw these. So Mattel is taking their two biggest and most gendered properties, Barbie and Hot Wheels, and they have created fitness kits for kids to use. And there's some really interesting things going on here. I think there's a few things they did really, really, really well in this, and a couple of things I wish they had backed off on a bit. So I didn't buy a kit. They're $50. I don't have a kid to pass it on to in my family. So I didn't actually look at the content, but from the pictures, it looks like it's pretty standard stuff. And I'm really pleased that both versions are very nearly identical. The only real big difference in this is the Barbie version, which is presumably the girl version, has a hula hoop, and the Hot Wheels version, which is presumably the boy version, has an inflatable punching bag. So the idea of hula hooping and boxing or kickboxing or martial arts being gendered is in play here. That's where this whole thing kind of falls down. And on the one hand, as a corporation, I understand why they want to do that branding, and that they ultimately their job is to make a product that sells. And this is what is probably going to sell more units than something that was more gender neutral. But they did a really good job of not saying, hey boys, here's Hot Wheels, hey girls, here's Barbie. They don't actually say that, although the pictures kind of give you that impression. There's only pictures of girls on the Barbie one. But you know what? They're really coming a long way, baby. And I love that they address the parents directly in these little panels that are on the sides here. Let me blow one of those up for you. The change in language, though, between the Barbie version and the Hot Wheels version is interesting, because the Barbie version says here that, hey, parents, you can check out wellness activities and our Spotify playlist. The boys version, on the other hand, talks about building strength and flexibility. So again, there's some gendering in the language there that I don't absolutely love, but I can see why they did it. The other thing that's really cool about the Hot Wheels version is it also includes a yoga mat. Both kits have yoga mats in them. And yoga is something that's been very, very, very feminine coded in the fitness world. So I really love that, because I can count on one hand the number of men who come to my yoga classes in the run of a week. And I'm hoping this is going to set up some boys out there for the idea that yoga is not about sex or gender, and we can all do yoga. We can all hula hoop too. We can all do kickboxing. We can all do all of these things. And really the biggest win of this is that both packages say you and your kids. It doesn't say you and your son or you and your daughter. And that may be the biggest win of all here, because even though the pictures and the branding suggest that girls should buy Barbie and boys should buy Hot Wheels, there's nothing on it that really makes that a firm rule. So they're breaking with a lot of marketing tradition from past generations and past decades. And that's really lovely to see. The downside, of course, is that the children on the packaging for Barbie are all girls and the children on the packaging for Hot Wheels are all boys. But they do show both men and women as parents in the pictures working out with the kids. And that's really, really valuable. We know from dozens, literally, of studies that have been done academically that kids who work out tend to have parents who work out. It's something that kind of trickles down as a family behavior. This product really takes that very much to heart. And I don't know if it's going to revolutionize physical activity for kids that are at Barbie and Hot Wheels ages, but maybe it will. I hope it will. And if it encourages parents to exercise because, I'm doing it for my kids, well, hey, if that's what gets you on the mat and that's what gets you in the hula hoop and that's what gets you punching the bag a few times, heck yeah, go for it. And that's it, everybody. I know this was a bit of a long one. This is the first time I've done an ITD episode that's had 3 things in it. So thank you for sticking with me. And you know what? If you're a boy type person, go get a hula hoop. And if you're a girl type person, go get a punching bag or something to kick and punch a few times. Let's break that gendered stereotype of who gets to do what kind of exercises. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when my videos come up. It really helps my channel. I also have links down below for Patreon, Ko-fi, and Threadless if you'd like to help me out in those ways. And as always, and whether you're a boy or a girl or gender fluid or you've escaped the binary altogether, live heavy, fight the patriarchy. And I'll see you for the next one. Bye.